We're going to talk about this morning is the granting versus lending process and what's the difference between the two and how they play a part. And first, we're going to talk about what is a grant and what's lending. What is a loan? It's been told that a grant is money you're given that you don't have to pay back, and a loan is money that you're given and you have to pay back. And the key thing to remember about when you started talking about grants and loans is that they're both the same thing. They're both our process of giving you something. And that's what a grant is. When somebody grant you something, they are the grantor. And a grantor is just like the bearer or whatever on a contract. Now, when somebody grant you a grant, you just say you don't have to pay it back. But you are under obligation, just the same as a loan. When somebody lend you money, you are under obligation. You still on the obligation to do something in return, what's called in the legal profession called consideration within a contract. Now, if you're you have a legal attorney of anybody in the legal practice to tell you about contracts, it's always a two-party agreement or one or two-party agreement, and what it has to have some type of consideration. That consideration means like it has to have a beneficial value for both parties involved, meaning they have to be getting something out of it. Now, a bank lends money. So when you go to a bank, they're going to lend money. They're going to grant you a line of credit. Issue the same thing. That's what they're going to do in the form of a line of credit. And with that line of credit, they say you have to pay it back with interest. Now, what they mean is you have to get the principal balance on the balance sheet back plus interest that's owed because of the transaction. That's what the part of a lending contract would basically consist of, is providing interest payments to the particular investor that issued the security in your name. So that's all they're doing. You're issuing a security, and that's an obligation to perform with. Now, with a grant, it's a little different, but it's the same thing. You still have to do a contract of some sort, but you're not issuing more like a security. You're issuing a form of equity. That means you're just issuing the value or credit that's involved with the particular issue, which would be a grant issue. And that grant, you do not have to supposedly pay it back because it's coming from a private foundation or either the IRS, which is another private foundation that works for the government. But again, it's going to be a government issue or either a private philanthropy issue from a private nonprofit organization, form of money, a fund, some kind of fund trust that they set up to issue funding to particular community endeavors. Now, to move forward, we're going to go with that and talk about that particular instance of the foundations and how they issue these things and what they want in return. Now, what a foundation going to mainly, or the IRS going to want in turn, is for consideration, is going to be a obligation to perform a particular community task that can benefit everyone in a particular area of the community. It has to be community oriented or something that's going to be, totally involved with everyone more than just yourself. It has to be about others other than self. And that's because the fund that is issued is federal funding that's for everyone involved. But we'll get to that on another topic. That's basically what I want to share with you this morning, and the basic fundamental of grants versus loans is that the grant is a issue of funding for a consideration of an obligation to perform community service. A loan is a grant of credit or a issue of credit for in turn of interest back with principal payments. And those principal payments can be used for personal or community gain, so on and so on. But that's the particular degree difference between the two.